Let's go back to Tel Aviv, where Trey Yingst is on the ground. Chief Foreign Correspondent. Trey, what's happening there now?
Yeah, Griff, this is breaking news. A senior Israeli official tells Fox News that Iran's supreme leader and Iran's president were targeted in strikes against the Iranian capital of Tehran. Also targeted were the commanding officers responsible, according to this official, for the mass murder of Iranian protesters. The official adds that battle damage assessments will come out later. But again, this is a massive development. A senior Israeli official telling Fox News that Iran's supreme leader and Iran's president, so the Ayatollah Khamenei and Masoud Pezeshkian, were targeted in Israeli strikes against the capital of Tehran. We don't know if they were successful as of yet. These battle damage assessments take some time, but it gives you a sense that the Americans and the Israelis, again, chose the most significant option that was on the table for military action against Iran. At this hour, the Iranians are still responding with ballistic missile fire against Israel. More alerts just sounded on phones across this country, urging people to get into bomb shelters. This will be a back and forth that continues in the days ahead as the Iranians not just continue their targeting of Israel, but also regional Gulf countries, from the UAE to Saudi Arabia to Bahrain. This is a regional war that is developing following these American and Israeli strikes against Iranian leadership. And you can hear that right now, Griff. Air raid sirens are sounding across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. Stay with me here. Can you grab my vest? Just stay with us, Griff.
Trey Yingst there in Tel Aviv as he puts on his protective wear, the flak jacket there. Sirens are ringing across Tel Aviv. Sirens have rung across Jerusalem. Iran clearly is retaliating. We have seen Israelis going to the bomb shelters. And Trey, a frightening moment there.
Yeah, right now, this is a defining moment. Israeli cities are under attack. And again, we can report to you at this hour, a senior Israeli official tells Fox News that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, and Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, were targeted in these strikes. The Israelis looking to decapitate Iranian leadership, to, as how some described in the planning process, cut the head of the snake. And the Americans supporting the Israelis in these strikes. This was a combined effort to take out Iranian leadership. We, again, don't have the battle damage assessments, but just stay with me here. Okay, you can see right now there's a missile interceptor, and my cameraman's going to stay on it. There's two of them right now soaring through the skies over Tel Aviv, and you can see those lines of white smoke. Those are the interceptors that are currently in the air right now, looking to intercept the incoming Iranian ballistic missile fire. You see, this is live right now as those sirens sounded. Millions of people across central Israel are in bomb shelters as the Israelis work to shoot down this incoming Iranian fire. And Griff, it just gives you a sense of how kinetic all of this is going to be in the hours and days ahead. Again, President Trump overnight making that address, not just to the nation, but to the world. And you can hear the explosions there. Those are interceptors that are successfully shooting down those incoming Iranian ballistic missiles. And again, it's not just here in central Israel, Griff, it is across this country, and you hear those explosions there as these missiles are being shot down in the distance. Griff.
Trey, a frightening moment there. Please stay safe. But let me ask you, because as we are learning that this is likely going to be days, not hours, and the Israeli people not new to the interceptors and Iron Dome, having to defend against missile attacks. But at the moment we're in now, and as the country wakes up and realizes this joint U.S.-Israel strike on Iran is likely going to push Iran to throw the heaviest punch they have, is Israel prepared to withstand this barrage that we are likely heading into at this hour?
They are. And remember, Israel has a tiered missile defense system. At the lowest level, the Iron Dome. Then they have David's Sling. And then they have the Arrow 2 and 3 system, and all of those systems will be on standby, prepared to shoot down incoming fire. What you just saw there was likely the Arrow 2 or 3 system, again, shooting down those incoming ballistic missiles after those sirens sounded across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. You also have the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier, the world's largest, that is currently off the coast of Israel. It's closer to the northern city of Haifa. That is also expected to help to shoot down some of the incoming fire. And then in some of the more rural areas out in the Negev desert, you have the THAAD and Patriot missile defense systems supplied by the Americans. Over the past several days and even weeks, Griff, we have seen these C-17 planes landing across the Middle East and here in Israel, many of them carrying these missile defense systems and the interceptors that are needed. So the preparation for this operation that was launched by President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu overnight was months in the making. And so they have the ability to shoot down this incoming fire. And what we have seen so far is actually far less fire than we saw during the 12-day war last summer. These barrages are coming in. They're targeting the entirety of Israel, but they're coming in 1 and 2 missile waves, not the dozens or even 100-plus missiles that we've seen in the past from the Iranians. And this is two-part, an indication that the Iranians may be trying to reserve some of their fire, understanding that this is going to be a sustained war, and also the fact that the Americans and the Israelis likely went after much of the launching positions that are spread throughout Iran. This is going to go on for many days, and so they have to be prepared not only looking east, but also looking north and south. You have Iran's largest proxies in the region, Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, and you have the Houthis in Yemen, both who have missile capabilities and drone capabilities of their own. And I was briefed by an intelligence official in the past week who indicated there are still thousands of missiles and rockets in the arsenal of Hezbollah. They have the capability to target major population centers. And previously we heard from their leadership, what's left of it following the Israeli campaign against Hezbollah, that they would respond directly if Iran's supreme leader was targeted. And again, we can bring you that information today, according to a senior Israeli official, that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, and Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, were targeted. We do not know the outcome of those strikes. Again, these battle damage assessments can take hours, if not days, depending on the location and the depth of the strikes. But the latest information, Griff, that we have, Israel remains under attack at this hour by Iranian ballistic missile fire, and this country is bracing for days of war ahead. Griff?
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst, live for us in Tel Aviv. Great coverage, Trey. Stay safe. We'll check back in with you throughout the morning.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.